the new Trickster's Delusion map is probably one of, if not the most aesthetically pleasing map that Behavior has ever made.
Man, there's no way Behavior actually made positive changes to Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying Dead by Daylight is the worst game ever made by mankind. And those devs, they're the most stupid, idiotic people to ever walk this earth.
Yep. Positive Dead by Daylight content creators. I hope Dead by Daylight dies.
Yeah, me too, man. Trash game. Trash game.
So you want to boot up and stack cakes? I'm almost to my 9th P100.
Yeah, of course. Let me boot up.
Hello everyone, a new community dev stream is upon us, this time covering the All Kill Chapter 2 and the upcoming update to Trickster, Union, their perks, a whole brand new map, and even a new survivor. However, this community dev update stream did not just cover the new content, but also upcoming changes to the main gameplay of the game, and also upcoming content. So buckle up, and I'm going to tell you how I feel about it. First off, the new map, Trickster's Delusion, is probably one of, if not the most visually appealing maps that Dead by Daylight has ever seen. The neon lights of the dim dark streets of the Korean city with multiple alleyways and buildings you can run through. It's extremely immersive and aesthetically pleasing. My favorite part is that the exit gates actually have this really cool custom design where they're not just the normal exit gates with a little bit of flourish, but they're actually the subway tunnel entrances to assumedly open the gate to get on the subway train to actually escape. I actually had an idea like this for the Alien chapter when it released back when it was a Dream chapter, and I didn't know that it was going to come to the game, that we would have the Nostromo map in space instead of the wreckage that we have now, and when you would go to the exit gates, you would open them to get into escape pods to jettison yourself out to safety. So I'm happy to have some sort of representation of this kind of idea in the game, and I hope they add more stuff like this as map design goes on. I really hope also that this isn't just like a one-off map and they don't do anything like this again in this realm, because it's a very, very unique aesthetic to have. So it'd make me sad if it was just one map. I hope we get more maps in there like Ormond and Lake Mine in the Ormond realm, that sort of thing. I do want to add one negative caveat that may be a thing in this upcoming map, is with all the neon lights, especially the nightclub, if those lights are flashing and being very, very bright and flickery, that may cause epilepsy issues. And man, would that be a bad coincidence considering the fact that the last time we had major issues with this was the Trickster bug where he was causing flashing lights with his power. Lord knows you guys have had a lot of issues with that in the past, so let's not have a repeat of Trickster causing epilepsy issues, and make sure the flashing lights are a little toned down on this map. Next, I want to cover the Trickster update. The long-awaited update that this character has been waiting on for literal years at this point is finally coming in this new chapter release. They ended up going a different direction with this than what a lot of people thought. You would think with how much time that it's been cooking that there was going to be like a full rework, but they're not. They're going more of the route of what they did with Freddy, where they're kind of like fleshing out the kit to, you know, modernize it in modern DBD. And considering the fact that Freddy's rework is largely looked upon positively and was a pretty good rework in my opinion, I think I prefer this direction instead of just throwing everything out. The main new thing here is going to be a style mechanic, which has been teased if you were catching on in the previous community dev stream, that now rewards you for accuracy, and in the previously hidden combo system that the character has been baked into the base kit as something that's extremely helpful to you. Essentially, the more accurate you are with your knives and the more you commit actions that are helpful to the Trickster throughout the trial, you are then rewarded throughout the match as your rank goes up. The reward for ranking up your style rank is a faster reload time, a faster knife speed, and a faster and more obtainable main event. I feel like Trickster is one of those characters, and rightfully so, has kind of gotten a bad rap for being a very mind-numbing spam character. And that's kind of what they reformed them into the rework, even though that's not what they were in their original incarnation. However, it's not like the killer mains that play them are having a good time, because they're fairly weak and there's not a lot of skill expression there on the character because their kit got so streamlined. So you're kind of in this weird zone where current Trickster isn't really enjoyed by the people who play him or the people who face him. This, however, will encourage more healthy gameplay, since just rogue spamming will not be rewarded as much as actually hitting your shots and doing things that are beneficial to you. The spam part of the power is basically kind of being mostly relegated only to the main event part of his kit, and even then there's a part of it where the more shots you hit during main event, you get to essentially refund or keep a lot of your ranks afterwards, which is kind of a cool caveat to even in main event you probably want to hit your shots. There have been some changes to the base kit to account for these new changes, such as lowering the total amount of knives, lowering the total amount of hits for laceration back to 6, but the jury is still out on the whole 110 versus 115 thing. I know a majority of players prefer him to be 110, but they made him 115 in his quote-unquote recent rework, his latest rework, I guess is the better way to put that. So I guess we'll have to be on the lookout for that, because I could not find, I rewatched it like 3 times, and I don't think they discussed this at all at any point, so I guess we'll have to see. This will also come in tandem with the full add-on rework for the character, and this is honestly all awesome. I like what I'm hearing so far. I feel like this should be really, really refreshing to the kit of the character. I know Trickster mains in the community like Rev and Zoe were really, really happy to hear this and thought that they did a really good job just based on what's been shown so far. I know for me personally, Trickster has never been a character I really liked because their kit just always seemed very mind-numbing to me, at least in the latest edition. It just seems like I suffer most of the game, but then I get my main event and then I just become really mind-numbingly annoying. I like characters where I can express a lot of skill, I can get cool clips. Those are usually the kind of characters I gravitate towards, so I've never really had an interest in Trickster, but I'm eager to see how this works out, because I gravitate to any character that's really, really fun and really skill rewarding to play. So if they rework them in a way that's, you know, that's their new identity, I'm totally down to play them a lot. So I'm interested to see what I think about this when it comes out, as somebody who doesn't have like an invested interest or bias towards the character. Oh, I almost forgot. They're also updating all of the teachable perks that came in the original All Kill chapter to fit modern DBD standards. This sounds cool, but I swear, behavior, if we buff fast track, I'm going to lose my mind. We have already seen the fallout from the last chapter release of adding more Gen Rush perks to the game. Gens already go far too fast in this current iteration of DBD. Hyperfocus Stakeout, not addressed. Prove, not addressed. Deja Vu, not addressed. We added 2 new gen perks in the last chapter that people are running in tandem with Prove. Built to last toolboxes, still being really strong. And while gen speeds are the same they have been for a long time, the changes that have happened around it, like exhaustion being off cooldown more often thanks to Vigil Ghost Notes, really strong healing perks like Resurgence, Desperate Measures, Botany Knowledge, like gens are going faster than they ever have. So I swear, if you buff another gen rush perk, I'm gonna be mad at you. Please, please, please do not agitate an already very annoying issue in the modern gameplay flow of Dead by Daylight, please. Now to cap off the new chapter content, we appear to be getting our first original male survivor in years, that being Quan Tae Young, as advertised in the community stream. We're not sure what their deal is. I don't know if they're related to Trickster or Yoonjin in any way, but I know a lot of people have been waiting a long time for an original male survivor. We've had plenty of original female survivors, we've had licensed male survivors, but we haven't actually got a male original survivor in a really long time. So that's a W. Now to get to the changes that are hitting the game for everyone outside of the new chapter content. First, we have the long-awaited accessibility option of being able to change the color of our auras. Being able to change the color of our scratch marks was an awesome update. I prefer purple myself, and I know that a lot of people have been waiting on seeing this change carried on from scratch marks over to auras, and they have thankfully delivered. Not only do you have the ability to change the color of your auras, but there's a lot of customization with this. You can change the colors of the gens, the hooks, the palettes, the survivors, the window auras. You can change everything and set them all to different colors. It's actually really cool and really in-depth. The only thing I'm kind of worried about with this is what happens to perks that have to intentionally change the color of specific auras. Eruption, when you kick a gen, it turns yellow. What if your gen's already set to yellow? If you run a Scourge hook perk, it turns the hooks white. What if you already have your hook set to white? Like what happens there? Do you just like not get to see those? I really hope they thought about this, because if they didn't, that's going to be a nightmare to deal with. I pray they've thought about this. The next update is a pretty huge one, that being that they are streamlining all of the perks in the games in terms of their text descriptions, and I do mean all of them. I'm sure you've noticed that perk descriptions in this game can go on for like 10 years sometimes, which is not only makes it really hard to understand a perk, but also makes it hard to decide if you want to use a perk, if you have to slap it on in a jiffy. I know in particular I will appreciate this change, because when I'm making those build videos to help you guys learn the Xenomorph, I know that I read out the entire perk description because I want to educate you on what that perk does to its fullest extent. But some of these really be going on and on and on, which is not great. So I know that's going to make my life way easier. And I would be remiss if I did not bring this up here, but they kind of like soft revealed while describing these new perk descriptions that Spirit Fury has been nerfed. The way we found that out is because they added clarifying language to the differences between like kicking a gen and damaging a gen. So like, why does turn back the clock not activate kick perks, but other kick perks still work? Stuff like that. But one of them they revealed is that they're now separating normal breaks of pallets and special breaks of pallets. And in this, on Spirit Fury, now only kicking pallets counts towards the count of kicking 2 pallets in order to get the activation of Spirit Fury. All right, I must again go on this tangent. If you don't want your killers running 4 slowdown every single game, then you have to give them alternative options that are impactful on the match and are worth running. The more you take more of these away, the more you're going to see more of the top 5 characters in the game that bottleneck design already running 4 slowdown and making miserable, unhealthy games for everyone. If you don't want the game to be sweatier, which seems to be something that you guys want at behavior, then funneling us only into the option of running slowdown because you keep taking away every other alternative is not the way to do it. I don't know why we've had this hankering for just like taking away every special character interaction that we seem to get with perks. Like, do you really? I genuinely don't think behavior wants us to be running 3 to 4 slowdown every single game. But like, what else is there when you keep nerfing and nerfing and nerfing and taking away and taking away, taking away? You take away anti-heal, you take away quality of life perks. Like, you're taking away everything that isn't slowdown, at least in terms of what's like quote unquote meta or good. So what are we supposed to do then? If we get faced with really sweaty or really boring teams that we're facing on the killer side, what other option do we have? I don't know. I've always disagreed with this because I think having a pallet drop on a killer, having them, only briefly get stunned through it because of End Fury and then hitting you one time and then they have to charge the power again is not as obnoxious as like, Pain Res, Dead Man's, Grim Embrace, Corrupt, like having all of those in one game, right? Like one of these is annoying, I guess, but not as annoying as the other. So please stop forcing us towards the alternative by taking away our tools, please. To get back on the positive parts of the update that I like, and one I didn't think I would personally like because I hated them, is the Fog Vial update. Fog Vials are finally getting some much needed love because they have had such a rough time since they've been in the game so far. When the Fog Vials first released, they were borderline overpowered. They were kind of just like a free chase escape. You would just throw it, and it was really hard to track them inside the fog. And in addition, it was kind of an accessibility nightmare because it would make people motion sick. I was one of them, even though I didn't get motion sick. Like if it was just like one throw, if there was like 3 or 4 of them in a game, I would see myself or feel myself starting to get motion sick. However, when they changed them to their new version, the fog wasn't thick like at all, and it was easy to see both from close and far, and it was almost like they did nothing, which was weird. So now we're finding an honest and good middle ground, which is now whenever a fog vial activates, if you are outside the fog bubble, the fog will obscure everything inside of it, so you will just see this big white cloud in the distance. However, everybody inside the fog cloud, including the killer, will be able to see just fine. This makes them more of a preemptive item to throw, which thankfully avoids the trap of making them a free escape item again. However, it still keeps its niche and helpful use by popping it early when you have the killer coming at you, so you can try to make a stealthy or random exit. I think this is a fine middle ground in theory, so I guess we'll see how it plays out. The last thing they covered is we got a little bit of an update on the create your own chapter thing. The Divine Killer was initially designed to have this kind of like laser beam power that would play more like a standard range killer, which consultants in the test team deemed to be too streamlined and too unskill expressive. So instead we're getting this massive scary orbital beam that flies down from the sky and is sent through objects. This is far cooler and funnier than just like a normal beam. Like the idea that we could just orbital strike survivors, quite frankly, sounds really hilarious, and I hope it's as effective as it is funny. The secondary part of this killer power kind of reminds me of the Halloween Void event that we keep getting every year. There's a alternative realm that once you condemn a survivor, I think it's the proper term is exile a survivor, they go there, and apparently this activates through a hook, and then they have to like run around and grab crystals to make it back, which kind of sounds vaguely familiar to the Void event, where like you go to a separate realm and then you have to collect a thing and then you leave, but this time it's unwilling. But my favorite thing about this is that there's these orbital beams that come down from the sky, kind of like Dracula's Exegate add-on, and every yellow beam that hits you lowers your hook state timer. Yeah, take that, 70-second hook states. You're one of the worst updates that's ever hit this game. Supposedly they're weighing the idea that maybe the killer can go in there too, which sounds really awesome. If there's a fun, cool gameplay map element, I want to take advantage of it. I know it's a little bit biased coming from a Xenomorph main, but I want to go in there too. Overall, I'm pretty excited for this, especially now that a lot of the controversial parts of the voting is already over. So now we can just get to making a cool and awesome chapter and not fight over literally nothing. But that's it for the community dev stream. The PTB for this content will be upcoming on Tuesday on the 24th. So hop on yourself and give it a try, or watch your favorite streamer and see what's going on. I know I'll be testing it at twitch.tv/TheMrHeadache, so stop on by. Other than that, that's it for today's video, friends. What do you think of all the new changes that were announced during this community dev stream? Let me know down in the comments below, and hopefully this video made your day a little bit better today, and I'll see you in the next one. But if I don't see you there, I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.